Good day. I'm Dave.
And I'm Dave.
And this is the OFFSITE
Insight
Podcast.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Creative Co-op. If you have any advertising or marketing needs, please reach out to Gino and the team at tcco.ca.
My name is Craig Hurst. I'm the CIO of ConTechHQ, which is a company that helps the construction industry find the right software.
Fantastic.
Craig, thanks for coming on. Why don't you give us a little bit of your background?
Sure. I come from a very interesting background. It's a mix of the construction industry and technology industry. I started off in construction, in particularly in home building and in home renovation. I have my background is I'm a CKD, a certified kitchen designer, which was where I started in the home building business, and then changed over to the technology industry after a few years when I got really excited about what was happening with the dot-com days, as a lot of people refer to, in the late 80s and early 90s. So I was one of those dot-com millionaires. I don't know what happened to the million, but the dot-com component stuck. And your audience may also be interested to know that I was the interim executive director of the Hamilton Home Builders Association. Hamilton, now Hamilton Wentworth then. I think it's Hamilton Burlington now. And I was one of the original members of their Renovators Council.
Fantastic.
So you have a mixed background, and all of which is relevant to our viewership. So we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to sharing some ideas with your audience today.
Yeah, and so it's kind of awesome that your background is in design, construction, kitchen and renovation, home building, and then you move to the tech. I'm going to call it the tech world. So you work now right at the intersection of that. So can you tell me a little bit about what a SOP, or a standard operating procedure, is, and how do we bridge that into making a difference in the construction industry?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave, too. We call standard operating procedures a lot of different things.
Sure.
Right? In the classic world of home builders, unless you are a major home builder like Mattamy Homes or whatever, most home builders, and I'm sure most members of the association that you're representing here today, are small businesses. And they don't have large teams that are sophisticated in terms of technology, their understanding of how to use technology. So we quite often call it SOP. This is how we do things.
Right.
Yeah. What we haven't done as small contractors and subcontractors is really put it in writing. Right. The history of our industry is, as I've often said, construction is the second oldest profession. We also know what the oldest profession is.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, it's been around for thousands of years. And the family operations, like you had talked about, taking over a family member's business, is really the lifeblood of the small construction industry, particularly in home building. So what happens is that the sophisticated strategies behind standard operating procedures are not documented as well as they should be. They're not articulated in a number of different ways. Not too many people actually have a this is how we do things binder,
Right.
that has things written out. However, the importance of this is really key, and it's important for people to understand that if you don't have a thorough understanding of all of your processes going into the future, where we're starting to talk about, we're currently doing a lot of digitization, utilization of software and other technologies in order to support the build process. And then in the future, using AI to a much greater extent to continue on and automate build processes. If we don't have it documented and know exactly how we're going to do things, all of that vision of automation is going to collapse.
Because at this point in time, AI, for example, can't do what it doesn't know exactly what you're already doing. So from that perspective, you need to understand what your procedures are. How do we get things done in order to work with AI?
Yeah, there's two aspects to that. One is that in order to say step one is here, step two is next, step three is something else, and these are all the participants in that process, which is what the SOP defines. The other side of it is how do we manage the structuring of data?
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
AI is driven by data. In construction, whether you are a home builder or you're commercial or ICI, fact of the matter is one of the first things that people want to use AI for is estimating.
Right.
Well, if I'm reliant on going to standard LLM or large language modeling processes in AI, and I just use what's available on the internet to create my estimate, guess what? Everybody else is going to have the exact same estimate. It's not geared to what my business is doing, how we allocate resources, how we purchase materials, and so on and so forth. So the standard operating procedure process also needs to factor in how you develop, manage, and control your data for the future use of AI.
Right. Because that's a lot of the value in and a lot of organizations, I think, underestimate the value of the data that they have.
Dramatically.
Okay.
Almost to the point of it being a crisis. All right. Data is the new currency. All right. What we know, whether it be up here or whether it be on a piece of paper or in a device, all right, is the value that we own. We used to simply, our accountants used to call it goodwill.
Sure. Yep.
All right. Now it's referred to as intellectual property.
Yep.
All right. And whether your intellectual property is a patent or whether it's just this massive volume of information that you've created over the years by doing your job, every job you do, you're creating new data. All right. That is currency. That is money in the bank today.
Right. I mean, that's essentially how a lot of the big tech companies make money now, is they're monetizing attention, they're monetizing data on their individual users so that they can then turn around and sell that to advertisers.
Right. Whether you're selling it to advertisers, or you're taking a look at your corporate growth strategy, you want to grow, if you're a roofer, right? We'll talk to people that are listening to this today, right? You're a roofer and your intent for 2026 is to double the number of jobs that you want to do, right? That you want to sell.
Yeah.
That's a fairly big but still achievable goal these days, but you can't do it without data. Right? You got to know who your ideal customer profile is. You need to find out all the people that you can identify that have intent to purchase. Right? That you need to be able to say, how do I get an estimate to them as fast as possible? Because the first one in is usually the first one to get the job. Right? And those are the kinds of things that proper data management will enable people to leverage.
So how does a small business like one of ours do that?
Great question, Dave, number one.
He's number
Well,
one.
you can.
2.0.
I'm reading left to right. How does one do that's a really great question. Because we can get involved in a very technical answer, and there are technicalities in terms of how to do it best, no question. But the best thing to do is to start to take a look at how have I got my computer organized? How many of us go to our computer and say, oh, well, I got an email from somebody and it had an attachment and I really could use that attachment now. And then you spend a half an hour trying to find it. And at the end of 31 minutes, you may have found it or you may not.
So you've asked for it again.
Please again.
Absolutely.
And you wind up chewing outrageous amounts of time
Yeah.
because your files are not properly organized in your computer.
Right.
Your emails are not properly managed in a way that you have the ability to retrieve them quickly.
Yep.
The number one piece of advice that we give to construction companies, and again, the entire range, one of the very first applications that they need to invest in, if they haven't already, is a CRM, right? Customer Relationship Management application. Now, we don't call them CRMs in the work that we do. We call them Stakeholder Relationship Management. The reason being, as soon as you use the word customer, everybody thinks, well, I'm using it for communicating for customers. It's a marketing tool.
Right.
It's not. Stakeholders include all of your suppliers, all of your employees, all of your subcontractors, all of your GCs, if you're a subcontractor, work the other way. All of the municipal licensing authorities. It goes on and on and on. Oh, yes, and customers too. Right? And the reason why we recommend a stakeholder relationship management or a CRM is that every piece of communication going in and out of your organization winds up sticking to an account card. Right?
Yeah.
I know who my customers are. I go, okay, or my stakeholders, I need to take a look at, did I send that purchase order to Home Depot? Yes, I did. Okay, why hasn't Home Depot sent me the materials that I ordered?
Right.
When did they say it was supposed to be delivered? Is it holding up the drywallers from completing that particular aspect of the project, who are then holding up the plumbers and the electricians and so on and so forth? All being managed data-wise and scheduling through the CRM, okay, or stakeholder relationship management tool. So that's the number one thing that we recommend to people. This is all part of that SOP strategy still, right? What is our process for managing data? There you go. The next point is, once you have that system organized, then you have to take a look at what's in your box, what's in your server system. Is it well organized? And if you, like a typical person, and I'm just as guilty as everybody else, a piece of data comes in, you look at it, and you say, I'm not exactly sure where that should go, but I'll get to it later.
Sure. Safety.
Guess what happens? Later never happens. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to develop the self-discipline to say, don't say later. Do it now. Put it in the right file folder and make sure that you have the ability to retrieve it through whether you're on a Google or a Microsoft environment, right? Being able to retrieve it through whatever search mechanisms you have available to you, and make sure that your naming processes
Right.
for your files make sense. Do you have a naming process that is so logical a brand new employee can find and file?
Right. Simplicity.
Mm-hmm. Or
No.
well, too often the answer is no. So what I'm talking about here is a procedure that then prepares, if you're doing this, there's a lot of other things, obviously, than the two major points that I made. But the future utilization of data for AI is going to need that.
Right.
So as an example, I want to not only create a folder that says, here's where all my estimates are, they're also going to be attached to that CRM.
Right.
Every estimate that went out to a customer is retrievable through the CRM, but in my file structure, I have the ability to say, I not only have estimates, but then I've got kitchen estimates, I got bath estimates, I've got basement renovation estimates, whatever the case might be. You've got them categorized, because what's going to happen with AI in the future is you're going to want to say, we both have experience in the kitchen business. You're going to want to say, I want to create an AI estimating block of information, all right? That's got what I refer to as fidelity, right? It's true, it's accurate, it's believable to me as the user.
Yep.
And it doesn't change. It remains constant. And I'm going to use that block of information, because all of those other things are properly structured, to be able to say, here's all of my estimates that I've done over the course of the last X number of months or years or whatever. Here are the parameters of this new estimate, whether it be how long the countertops are, you come in with some basic measurements, then that data is going to be able to say, based on the way in which you work and all of these previous estimates, here's your new estimate. Right? With taking into account the way you do business, the suppliers you purchase your cabinets from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. AI is going to know that. What's going to happen? Instead of taking days, like it used to be when I was a kitchen designer, to come up with a good quotation, it's going to take seconds.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it comes back to that old adage, like when you're managing a database, like garbage data in is going to give you garbage data out. So what you're talking about is making sure those inputs have that high fidelity, right? You've got good data going in, so the data you get coming out is good.
Exactly. Back in the day when I first started to dabble in technology, called it GIGO, right? Garbage in, garbage out. And that is indeed the case. And so there's sort of two types of garbage now in the world that we're living in as we advance into the utilization of AI. I know that we're kind of moving off of the standard operating procedure route, but I'm sure that's okay. But the garbage in is not only, if we put our own garbage in there, that's one thing. But then there's the garbage that large language models, AI large language models, is going to put into the system too. Right? So, and this is something that happens. This is a very Canadian context type of thing.
Absolutely.
When we go out and without knowing effectively how to utilize LLMs and AIs and agents, agentic systems, which, I hope your audience has the time to spend, you guys have to spend time to spend telling them what all those phrases mean. The fact of the matter is, when you just go to the AI system and say, tell me about how much does a Delta sink cost, right? Or a American Standard toilet. It will generally come back with US numbers, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is that we then go, oh, well, that's what it cost. And guess what? We just lost 35% on the purchase of that product to sell to our customer.
Yeah.
So it's a very Canadian issue that you got to be careful about the garbage.
Yeah.
Right. Going in, you got to make sure that you're teaching and educating your data to be accurate and your utilization of AI to be accurate.
Right. I mean, it's a challenging topic, obviously, as a small business owner. You can appreciate this, Steve. You can appreciate this. You've got so many different things to think about, even just on a day-to-day, let alone to being like, oh, I need to take care of my data better. But I want to kind of get back to your earlier point, like the idea, I think, for a lot of small businesses to be like, I don't have a standard operating procedure. That seems like I've got a million things that we do. How do I shrink it down so it doesn't feel overwhelming if you're going to start the process of getting a standard operating procedure?
Yeah, and that's, I mean, there's technical answers and then there's everyday answers to that question. There's technology out there that can, if you're a medium to large size organization, you can go and buy applications that actually track every transaction and every keystroke in your organization and say, this is how you do things.
Right.
Now, in the construction game, there's an awful lot of, hard steel-toed boots out in the field that need to be taken into account.
Yeah.
And they're not measured particularly well by those kinds of devices. So let's talk about what happens at the lower levels, at the level that I would believe most of your audience is sitting at. How do we do that? Well, it's you apply the KISS principle.
Keep it simple,
Keep it simple, stupid. All right. You start small. If you are a project manager for a contractor, or you're the owner of a construction company, and you want to go on a journey that says, I'm going to start to build my standard operating procedures, take a look at the first thing that you do at 7 o'clock in the morning when you get in your truck. What do I do when I get in my truck? What's the first thing?
Get a coffee from Timmy's.
Or if you are running an organization that requires core certification, right, you are going to do a truck inspection. Okay? I'm going to walk around my truck. I'm going to make sure that all the tires have air in them.
Yep.
I'm going to make sure nobody broke in and stole a tool last night. Yep. I'm going to do a bunch of things as I walk around my vehicle. Right? And so what do I want to do? I'm going to take out this. And I'm going to walk around. I'm going to put it on voice memo.
Yep.
And I'm going to walk around my truck doing my formal inspection. If I'm, core certified, you got to do that. I'm going to then talk to this device and tell it what it is that I'm doing in that inspection. And then I'm going to say, is there anything I forgot to do? Maybe I did. Okay, I'd better go back and do it and record that as well. And then I'm going to take that recording and I'm going to run it up. And now writing it up means I'm going to give that recording to AI and say, please write a simple truck inspection SOP for me. That's at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Then I'm going to take the tasks that I do at 7:15.
Right.
That's going to tens.
Yeah, we know our truck is safe. Now we can go and get coffee.
Yeah.
So you get the picture,
Absolutely.
right? So the utilization of all of the devices, this is, who uses this as a telephone anymore? Not too many, the number of phone calls I get versus all of the other communications I get in and out during the day on my devices. Phone calls might be 5% of my traffic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we have these devices in our hands for a good reason. And so let's use them to keep it simple, stupid, build our standard operating procedures using pretty basic stuff.
Right.
And if we are pros, right,
Mm-hmm.
There's an awful lot of muscle memory in our standard operating procedures because we're doing them all the time.
Yep.
We just haven't put them on paper.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so once SOPs are, let's say we've done that, we've gone through our whole day as the owner, for example, and we've got our standard operating procedures. We've allowed some of our other leaders who have, different tasks that they're doing, do the same thing. How do we improve the way that we use the data that we now have? Okay, so we've got all these operating procedures. That's great. Everyone's clear and concise on what they're supposed to be doing. What comes after that?
Well, after that, the biggest challenge is getting compliance. I can create, if I'm a home builder owner, contractor owner, I can say, yep, this is the year we're going to get all of our standard operating procedures organized, and we're going to get them all in writing, and we're going to, create a binder, and, now you can deliver them as a PDF and it's in everybody's phone. Then we're going to run our ship better, cleaner, leaner, more profitable, et cetera, et cetera. Challenge is going from the owner's desk, mind, and heart, and whatever, into everybody else. Right. And compliance is always the biggest challenge. If I just brought in a new piece of software as a home builder, and I said to everybody, okay, now we're going to do all of our purchase orders using this tool, or all our change requests, or whatever it is, the change management that's associated with getting everybody on board is far more demanding than setting up the system and, buying the software and connecting it. That's the easy part.
Yeah.
All right. So compliance is always going to be the biggest challenge. It's always going to be the thing that befuddles. Like it's hard to get it done. And if you don't get it done, it winds up being the whole process, or the whole exercise of trying to establish process becomes, I was going to say lost leader, but it becomes very, very expensive and ineffective.
Right. If you've got the software and you've got these great ideas, but nobody's following the new process, in some ways, to be blunt, you've wasted your money.
Exactly, Dave. So when we, as a company, our business is to help the builders with these kinds of transitions. Simple transitions like setting up a CRM, or more complex ones like, building their entire AI strategy, right? Basically everything in between. We spend more time working on the change management than we do on the actual digital transformation or the technical side of it, because we know that all of the expense of buying the software and doing that kind of thing is usually going to be a waste. I don't want to say it's always a waste, but the other thing is that the organization, as it's not doing the adoption of these opportunities, is getting further and further behind their competition.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the expensive part. Right. We talked about estimates a few minutes ago, right? Those that are doing the estimating, the way we described it, and getting that estimate back into the hands of the potential customer, all right, first, are probably going to get the deal. And the other guy who doesn't get around to getting it to the customer for another 5 days, right?
Yeah.
Is not.
In our experience, it's a volume problem, because we estimate this based on the model. So when a home builder has 20 or 30, different kinds of models, or sometimes hundreds, you have an individual who just grinds out an estimate for every one of them. And for every estimate that he's estimating is an estimate that he can estimate somewhere else. So if we don't get that job, it's an enormous amount of loss and pressure. And so if we could turn it from days to seconds, that's the kind of thing that could change our business.
The days to seconds is a little bit of an extreme, but not much.
Right.
Well, if it's minutes or hours,
it's still minutes or hours.
Yeah.
I'm seeing companies that are so driven by this, because they are looking at 2x, 3x, 4x growth, right? Particularly in the renovation game, right? It's a little hard to do 2, 3, and 4x growth in home building. It's doable, but that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
To your point. But the fact of the matter is in renovation, means business, means cash in your pocket.
Right.
Right? Oh, I'll get around to it by Friday. Oh, you know what? It's Friday afternoon. I'll get it to you, Mrs. Smith. I'll get it to you over the weekend. Monday morning. Yeah, there it is. Guess what? You lost the deal. They went somewhere else on Saturday and looked at the same thing that they want to buy, and they bought.
Right.
So that is an outrageously expensive process for the person that doesn't adopt, right? And their competition is going to clean up.
So, I mean, it sounds like if I were to ask the question, what's the biggest mistake, companies could make is if they're not looking to start adopting some of these, start simple with the SOPs, get an understanding of the data that you have available to you, and then move on.
Yep. The associated costs of doing so, the return on investment, we want to put it in that terminology, is going to be quick, and it's going to be very measurable if they do take this on and take it on earnestly. But again, what's the holdback is the change management component,
right?
Compliance, getting everybody in your organization to start to use it. And to expand on that one a little bit more, interdepartmental activity, collaboration.
Sure.
All right. So if your finance department is not working with your project management department, who are not working with your human resource department effectively through these processes and designing them and utilizing technologies to exchange information, exchange data quickly, instantaneously in most cases, between the between the safety manager and the project manager or the site soup who's just identified an injury. If you're still dragging around, I mean, I still see today in our practice, I still see field level notes. The best one. This is similar example to the injury report that I was just about to refer to. But the best one is I have still seen quote unquote time cards be submitted on bar napkins.
Right. Today in 2026.
Yeah. Today.
Yeah.
Okay. The site soup goes out for beers at the end of on Friday afternoon with his whole team. He left his clipboard in the truck, and then said, "Oh yeah, I got to get everybody's time card. Billy, do you have yours? Dave, do you have yours? Could you just write them down, and I'll put them on the form when I get back to work on back in the truck or whatever the case might be." I can still see that today.
Right.
What a huge waste of time, number one.
Sure.
What an opportunity for mistakes, right?
Okay, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, same. Yeah, we do that digitally.
Right. We should be doing it digitally. When we first started, we first started working very constantly. Like, we only work in construction doing our work. We don't work with restaurants and corner stores and manufacturers. Strictly construction. And when we first started, the number one software application that people were asking for, back in the years ago, was time management. Right? Give me something that people could enter their time in, digitally.
Yep.
Then it got more sophisticated. Yeah, I can fill out an e-form, an online form or Excel spreadsheet for that matter, and build an Excel macro to do that. Second thing is that I'm going to enable it to happen on a phone so that it's no more. This is the new equivalent of a bar napkin.
Yeah.
Then it got into GPS tracking and geofencing, and then it got into it goes on and on and on now. But the number one thing was tracking time.
Yeah.
And when you're not tracking your time properly, you don't have a standard operating procedure to say, this is how we do it. Whether it be analog or digital, at least have the procedure that says, this is how we do it. We do not allow bar napkins.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't do that, guess what's happening, company owner? Your staff are taking advantage of you.
Yeah.
They're walking away with your dollars for time they didn't provide.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. It's called theft.
Yeah. Time theft. Absolutely.
All right. And in that theft, although you don't want to measure it, you don't want to charge anybody, you don't want to do all of that, guess where that money's coming from? Your bottom line.
Yeah.
Is the ROI on a time tracking application pretty short? Darn right it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's, I think we're getting close to the end here, Craig. And I think first off, thanks so much for coming in here because it's been fantastic. What's everyone who's listening to this podcast today or tomorrow or whenever it's released, what's one thing that you would say, hey, quick, get this done?
What did I write down the first time?
CRM.
Yeah, I think the quick get this done is probably the CRM.
Yeah.
The first route of managing all your data effectively, all of it winding up helping support a great number of standard operating procedures.
Yeah.
Is going to be that. Again, I call it a stakeholder relationship management, because we're going to include all of those other participants, suppliers, subs, and municipal building inspectors, God knows who else, because anybody that we communicate with is sharing data with us.
Right.
So we don't capture that and organize it in a field level manner. I'm going to talk about field level for a second. We don't organize it in a manner that everybody right down to the field level can't access immediately and find it.
Right.
All right. We're not going to be as efficient and as profitable as we can be. That's not always going to be number one. And then spinning off the SOPs that are associated with how you use that is going to be a very important part of organizing any contractor.
It's more interesting.
Yeah. And I was going to say the example of that is even a client address. You've got a guy who's switching jobs in the middle of the day. Well, if he doesn't have access to where he's going, he has to stop what he's doing. He has to call someone else, stop what they're doing, have the discussion, where am I going?
I mean, yeah, we can start to talk about all kinds of different applications, and I'm sure some of your audience is sitting there saying, well, Buildertrend does that for me,
Sure.
or Procore does that for me, or whatever. Yeah, you're right. It does. All right. If you're using those tools, good for you.
Right.
However, if you're not using those tools and you're not properly tracking your data and making sure that everybody at the field level can access what you want them to your point, Dave, you're going to project number 14 today.
Yep.
Oh, project 14, I can go right here and say, where the heck is that?
Yep.
What's the name of the owner?
Here's the phone number.
Here's the access code because I'm going in to do a kitchen renovation or whatever the case might be. Boom, it's all here.
Right.
Structured data becomes information.
It becomes efficiency.
Right.
Becomes efficiency. And efficiency right down to the second, as we talked about with the estimates.
Right. Because you can save multiple people time multiple times a day. That stacks up very quickly.
Right.
A lot of times.
Yeah, the utilization of texting, SMS messaging is becoming vital as well.
Right.
So when I am telling you to go to project 14, all right, I'm doing that via text and I'm expecting an immediate response as a project manager or business owner that you acknowledge that, okay, yeah, I'll be there at 1:30 or whatever the case might be. I have to go to Tim's 5 times before I get there. But just
Right. No,
but the point is that texting is going to wind up. It is not winding up. It is already, and it's very, very effective tool.
Right.
in terms of managing procedures and managing communication.
Right. Well, I think, Craig, I think there's some people who watch this are going to want to find out more about it. How do we reach out to you?
Probably the best way to get a hold of me is through our software marketplace, which is ConTechHQ.com.
Fantastic.
That's 2 H's for everybody that goes and types it into their browser. So through ConTechHQ, you can reach out to us, and then we can either help you or direct you to the help that you may be asking for, depending on how challenging the project is. We do this kind of work. The marketplace is global resource. We have customers all over the world. The advisory service, which is known as the Net Effect Contractor Advisors, or theneteffect.ca, is where we can pair you up with a specialist who will work one-on-one with the organization to take them through these processes, particularly managing that change management one I mentioned.
Which is the biggest obstacle.
Yep.
Fantastic. I don't know about you, Dave, but I think we nailed it.
I think we nailed it.
So if you would like to be a sponsor of an episode, or if you'd like to be a guest, please reach out to podcast@schba.ca. Craig, thanks again for all the information today. I hope maybe one day in the future we'll have you back and you can tell us more.
Love to, guys. Take care.